They called her untouchable. They called her divine. The jewel of the kingdom, wrapped in silk and gold. But what no one imagined was that her heart would fall for a slave. Pause. Let that sink in. Because in the land of Adoma, kings were gods, princesses were untouchable, and slaves were shadows. Shadows without names. Shadows without tomorrow. To love across that line was not just dangerous. It was forbidden. And forbidden love in Adoma always ended in fire, or in stone. But love is not polite. It does not bow. It does not wait for laws. It rises. It breaks. It blooms. Even in the darkest soil. And beneath the wide arms of the great baobab tree, ancient witness to all secrets, a forbidden love was born. The kingdom of Adoma stretched across valleys and rivers. Its soil was red, rich with life. Its markets hummed with drums, laughter, bargaining. Fishermen sang as they hauled in their nets. Children shouted as they chased goats between the stalls. At the center rose the palace. Stone upon stone. Walls tall enough to scrape the clouds. Courtyards lined with fountains that never ran dry. Gardens where blossoms outnumbered weeds. Inside, corridors smelled of frankincense. Gold gleamed on the walls. Silks flowed from window to floor. Power lived here. And power demanded silence. In this palace lived Princess Amira. Eyes like dark jewels. Skin glowing like dusk after rain. Laughter that could soften even the king's jaw. She had silks that shimmered like rivers. Jewels that flashed like stars. Servants who hurried to fetch her smallest wish. Musicians whose flutes played until her eyelids closed. She had everything. Except freedom. For in Adoma, a princess's life was not her own. Her hand was the kingdom's bargaining chip. Her heart was the crown's property. Her future was written before her cradle cooled. But hearts do not read decrees. Hearts have their own ink. Elsewhere in the palace lived another. A young man named Kofi. But no one said his name. He was a shadow. A slave. He had been born free. In a village where yam fields stretched wide. Where nights were long songs under the moon. Where a boy could dream of being a man. Until raiders came. Until fire swallowed his home. Until chains bit into his wrists and marched him away. Sold like cattle. Dragged across rivers. His name spoken only by himself in the dark. Now, in the palace, he carried water jars heavy enough to break backs. He scrubbed stone until his hands split. He hauled wood for fires that warmed rooms. He would never enter. To Adoma, he was invisible. But to Amira, he was something else. It began on a morning when the sun spilled gold across the courtyard. Amira walked with her maids, baskets of flowers in their arms, her veil soft against her cheek. By the fountain knelt Kofi, scrubbing, sweating, every muscle bowing to labor. Their eyes met. Only a moment. But a moment can last forever. Amira saw him, not as shadow, not as slave, but as man. Strength bent, not broken. A quiet fire hidden in his gaze. And Kofi saw her. Not just jewel, not just crown, but soul in a cage of silk. Yearning as he yearned. Neither spoke, neither dared. But silence screamed their secret. That night, Amira tossed under silken sheets. The stars glittered, but none brighter than the thought of him. A boy with scarred hands, but steady eyes. And Kofi, on his reed mat in the servants' quarters, did not dream of chains. He dreamed of laughter. Her laughter. Once, he had heard it spill out. As she played with children near the palace gates. A sound pure and free. A sound strong enough to cut through iron. Days passed. Weeks turned to moons. And fate wove them closer. One afternoon, Amira wandered the gardens alone. Her maids dismissed. Her steps carrying her deeper among the blossoms. And there, bent over a jug, was Kofi, pouring water on young trees. She stopped. He froze. The air thickened between them. At last, she spoke. Her voice soft, but commanding. "What is your name?" Kofi's heart thudded. To speak to a princess unbidden was to risk death. But her eyes, they did not judge. They asked, "My name is Kofi." She repeated it, slowly, "Kofi." As if the sound pleased her. As if the name belonged in her mouth. From that moment, danger became destiny. They met again. By chance at first. Then by design. A glance by the fountain. A whispered greeting in the garden. A brush of fingers passing a jug. Small things. Dangerous things. For in Adoma, the law was unyielding. A slave who touched royalty. Death by fire. A princess who shamed the throne. Sealed in stone. Still, they could not resist. Kofi told her of yam fields. Of harvest songs. Of moonlit laughter in his lost village. Amira told him of dreams. To walk beyond palace walls. To be more than a daughter wrapped in silk. To choose her life with her own hands. Curiosity became friendship. Friendship blossomed into love. They met beneath the baobab. Ancient. Roots deep. Branches wide as sky. Older than kingdoms. Older than laws. There, hidden from guards. They spoke. They laughed. They touched hands. They dreamed aloud. The baobab listened. Its silence heavy with memory. For it had seen love before. And it knew. Love and law are not always friends. But secrets are like smoke. No matter how tightly you hold them. They find the wind. And whispers began to rise. A maid noticed absences. A guard noted glances. Kitchen women stirred millet and rumors alike. Have you seen the princess's eyes? They wander. Wander where? Laughter followed. But not the kind that heals. And in the shadows, envy awoke. Envy does not sleep long. Queen Ifua saw the signs. She saw her daughter's steps hesitate at doors once familiar. She saw her laughter come late and leave early. One evening she sat with Amira, undoing her braids by lamplight. "Your heart is loud," she said. Amira's breath stilled. Do hearts have voices? When they stand between choice and consequence, the queen replied. They are drums no one can ignore. Amira wanted to confess, to pour her truth into her mother's hands. But she swallowed it. Not to hide. To keep it alive. The queen tied the last braid. Remember, mercy is not weakness. Mercy is a door. Use it wisely. Serwa, Amira's handmaiden, loyal as breath, saw more than others. She saw the glow in her mistress's eyes. She saw the danger in every secret path. One dawn she begged, "My lady, do not go today. The shadows are noisy. The wind is not a friend." Amira searched her face, saw the plea, and yielded. 3 days, she whispered. But envy had already sharpened its knife. Adoma, niece of a minister, eyes like hawks, followed one moonlit night, through gardens, past fountains, into the baobab's shadow. And there she saw 2 figures, too close to be chance, not touching, yet bound. She smiled, not with kindness, with calculation. She did not run to the king. She went to places where rumor breeds fastest. A guard in debt, a cook fearful for his son, a minister hungry for rank. By the time the whispers reached the council, they wore new clothing, concern for order, concern for the king's honor. And so the king was told, the princess goes unguarded to the grove. Her safety, your name, both at risk. The king's jaw tightened. He summoned the captain of the guard. Bring the boy, he commanded, and bring my daughter. Kofi was dragged from his labors, brought before the captain. Questions were spears. Do you know her? Yes. Do you speak to her? Sometimes. Do you touch her? No. Do you love her? The room went still. Kofi's heart knocked once. He lifted his head. Yes, I love her. And does she love you? He shut his eyes for a breath, then opened them. She does. At that same hour, the queen told Amira, the king knows. Amira straightened. Then let me say it before him. My heart is not a rumor. And so they were led into the hall. The crowd gathered. Priests, ministers, guards. Kofi from one door, Amira from another. Their eyes met. Two glances crossing like spears, spilling resolve instead of blood. The captain spoke. The slave admits love. The princess must answer. Amira lifted her chin. It is true. My heart belongs to him. The crowd gasped. Ministers murmured. Priests hissed. The king's staff struck the ground. At dawn, the slave burns. At dawn, the princess is sealed in stone. The hall froze. Death had been spoken, but Amira's voice did not tremble. If he burns, my love will not. If stone takes me, it will learn how to hold wind. And Kofi bowed. Not to the throne, to the truth. If fire is the price of honesty, let my feet be clean. The king's eyes closed. When they opened, they held no father, only king. Until dawn, he decreed. No longer. Chains sang their cruel song. Doors swallowed Kofi. Amira was locked away. Serwa whispered through hidden panels. Hold fast. I will not let the day close on you. But beyond the palace walls, the city murmured. What kind of kingdom burns truth? What kind of law fears a heartbeat? Dawn crept slow. Torches bent. Guards stacked wood. Masons set chisels near the stone chamber. The herald practiced his voice. Practiced saying death as though it were a duty and not a crime. Kofi sat in the dungeon, back against the wall. Palms pressed to the Baobab carving Sawa had slipped into his hand. He whispered, not for ears, for courage. If my body ends, let my truth walk on. Amira in her locked chamber traced her fingers on cold walls. This is not a tomb, she told herself. This is only waiting. She pressed her ear to the stone. And somewhere beyond, as if the Baobab stretched roots into her heart, she heard Kofi's steadiness. The drums gathered breath. The people gathered, not to cheer, but to witness. Because sometimes witnessing is the only weapon left. And just as the sun pushed its first thumbprint on the yard, a voice cracked the silence. Let the king hear before the fire speaks. Heads turned. An old man entered. Staff tapping. Hair white as foam. Eyes carrying storms older than thrones. The captain bristled. Who are you to step into judgment? The man bowed low. Tano. Griot. Keeper of stories your laws forget when they sleep. The king's jaw tightened. You have one breath. Spend it well. And Tano began. Long before this dawn. Before this king wore the leopard skin. A child of royal blood was stolen. There was a raid. Villages broken like clay pots. Families scattered into smoke. In that ruin, the king's sister fled with her newborn. She ran toward reeds and mercy. But men with iron caught her first. She lived long enough to hand her baby to a midwife. Senna. Hide him, she begged. Name him to survive, not to shine. And then smoke swallowed her. The midwife vanished into grass. Tano's voice shook, but did not break. I saw that child. I saw the mark carved upon his shoulder at birth. A crescent moon. The sign of your bloodline. The court gasped. Priests bent their heads. Ministers blinked as if memory slapped them awake. The king's eyes hardened. Stories are wind. Law is stone. Tano's staff struck the ground. Even stone remembers the river that shaped it. Let the boy show what wind cannot erase. He turned to Kofi. Child, show them. Chains clinked as Kofi bared his shoulder. There, pale against his skin. A crescent. The mark of kings. The hall erupted. Gasps, cries, whispers running wild. Queen Ifu arose. Her face pale with shock. Her voice firm. The mark of our house. The king descended from his dais. Each step thundered. He stopped before Kofi. Eyes locked on the mark. Then lifted to the boy's face. Who named you? A woman called Senna, Kofi whispered. She said God hides children in strange places. when the world forgets its manners. Tano bowed, tears brimming. She was the midwife. She saved lives in her hands. This boy is no slave. He is your sister's son. The king's chest rose like a storm trying to choose between thunder and rain. He looked to the people, to Amira, to the queen who watched him like the river watches a drowning man. At last, he raised his staff. My sister's son stands before us. Blood of my blood. No slave. No shadow. Stolen. Returned. The crowd roared. Some in joy. Some in terror. All in awe. The king's voice cut through them. Dawn came with 2 deaths. It will leave with none. Kofi is kin. Amira is unashamed. No fire. No stone. Let the day end with life, not death. Chains fell. Clink after clink. And Kofi's wrists breathed free for the first time since boyhood. Amira broke through the crowd, ran to him, and took his hands. Her eyes filled with tears. But her voice was clear. Now the world knows what I already knew. The people wept. Some cheered. Even the Baobab outside seemed to sway with relief. But in the shadows, Adoma's face tightened. Her ladder had crumbled. But envy does not vanish when exposed. It waits. It sharpens again. That night, feasting filled the palace. Palm wine spilled. Drums roared. Songs rose to honor life over fire. Kofi stood not on the throne, but beside it. Amira at his side. Head high. The people chanted. Mercy is strength. Love is not shame. But Adoma moved quietly between tables. Her smile sweet as fruit. Her heart bitter as ash. She whispered to a guard. Brushed a cook's sleeve. Slid silver where fear would take it. Poison. Patient as shadows. Found a jug. It rode a tray. Wrapped in celebration. It moved toward Kofi's hand. But Sawa's eyes caught it. She saw the guard's trembling wrist. She smelled bitterness beneath palm wine sweetness. And when the cup reached Kofi's lips, she struck. Liquid exploded. Shattered on stone. Poison, she cried. The hall froze. The captain tested the jug. Spat. Death, he growled. The guard broke, confessed. His eyes betrayed Adoma. Dragged before the king. She spat venom. You lift a foundling to a throne. Better poison than chaos. The king's voice cut like a blade. He is blood. And you are shadow. He turned to the people. Let it be known, envy shrinks the heart to a room, where poison feels like company. Adoma was stripped of her silks, cast out to labor under sun and stone. Her name now a warning. The queen lifted the poisoned jug herself, poured it into fire. The flames hissed, recoiled, and the feast breathed again. Drums rose. Feet remembered dance. Children laughed. And beneath the Baobab, an old woman whispered to a child. When the world tries to bury love, it learns how shallow it digs. Morning came. No drums. Only brooms, sandals, water in basins. Because miracles must be swept into everyday life. Kofi rose before sunrise, washed at a basin, and met the tutor who taught him balance with stones, dignity in stillness, the art of sitting without bowing too low, the wisdom of refusing compliments wrapped as chains. Amira sat with her mother, learning to temper anger into patience, to fold swords into flowers with words, to let silence finish battles that language could not. Serwa mapped corridors, watched jars, spoke to the Baobab at dusk. Teach me to shade them all, she prayed. And the kingdom whispered a new proverb. A throne that spares love spares itself. Morning rose without ceremony. Only brooms spoke. Only basins sang. Only sandals counted the day in quiet numbers. A kingdom that had shouted life, the night before, now asked itself, what kind of life shall we keep? Kofi rose before the sun. He breathed in steady, the way a drummer finds rhythm before striking the skin. He opened his palms. They remembered rope, but they also remembered release. He smiled, because a hand that has known rope does not mistake kindness for weakness. It drinks it like water. The tutor returned. A reed mat. 3 stones. 1 for the head. 1 for the shoulder. 1 for the palm. Now speak your name. Without dropping truth. Kofi. The stones trembled. Held. Again. Kofi. Steady. The tutor nodded. Good. Names are bridges. Build them well, so others may cross. Across the palace, Queen Ifua trained Amira. Not with swords. Not with scrolls. But with cups. This one is truth, she said. This one is kindness. Pour them into one bowl. Amira poured. Watched the surfaces meet. Tasted. It tastes like policy. The queen's eyes warmed. Serve it warm, not hot. Cold, it is cruel. Hot, it burns. Warm, it heals. Sawa moved silently, carrying trays, carrying secrets. Her presence said, I am here. Even if no one names me, I am here. Meanwhile, the city whispered a new proverb. A roof is strong when mercy is its beam. Women selling peppers said it aloud, to test the weight of truth on their tongues. Children scrawled crescents in dust. Old men muttered it at the edge of their pipes. Adoma was learning. Slowly, but learning. Then came the test. Messengers stumbled in. Dust on their clothes. Hunger in their eyes. To the north, they cried. Fields wither. Wells dry. Children chew memory for food. The council gathered. Ministers lined up words like bowls. Some cracked. Some too polished. Send soldiers, one urged. Raise tariffs, another barked. Use famine for leverage, a third whispered. The king sat like a mountain. The queen like a river. Kofi watched an elder's hand tremble over an empty cup. And he stood. If the mouth is dry, the tongue invents enemies. Do not send spears. Send grain. Send women who know how to wake soil. Send carriers who know the weight of water. The ministers hissed. Compassion is currency. Spend too much and you invite invasion. Kofi's gaze stayed steady. When a neighbor's house burns, you do not argue about smoke. You carry water. Later, you talk about roofs. The king looked at the queen. One blink. 30 years inside it. He faced the room. Send grain. Send oxen. Send songs. Send the griot. Tano bowed. I will sing their dust into rain. Courtyards filled with sacks. With ropes. With the music of preparation. Kofi tied knots. Shared weight. Sweated. Laughed. Amira checked ledgers. Shifted loads from narrow backs to broader ones. Thanked each worker by name. Names are water. And water makes life grow. The convoy left at dawn. Carts creaked. Oxen snorted. Drums beat like humble hearts. Villages appeared. Thin. Tired. Waiting. Bowls lifted like prayers. And into them fell grain. And songs. And hope. Kofi listened. Amira comforted. Tano sang. And despair slowly unlearned its name. At the border, the proud chief of the north stood. Pride in his bones. Hunger in his fields. He asked one word. Why? Kofi touched the crescent scar. Because someone brought water when I burned. And it taught me what hands are for. The chief bowed. Thanks spoken quietly. The kind you can build a treaty on. When they returned, the people greeted them not with trumpets, but with bread. Loaves laid on mats. So even the ground could eat. The king smiled. A sunrise worn thin but true. You left with carts. You returned with something heavier. Trust. But the world always tests again. A delegation came from the east. Perfumed cloth. Silver smiles. Compliments sharp as knives. They praised Adoma's new law of mercy. And they proposed a marriage. Their prince, Princess Amira. Amira's face became a mirror. Reflecting. Not admitting. At last she spoke. My heart is not a treaty. and Adoma's strength is not measured by how quickly it forgets its story. The prince frowned. His minister hissed, "Love is not governance." Queen Efiwa's eyebrow lifted the width of a seed. Love is why governance exists. Without it, laws are nails with no house. The king stood. True. Not tall. Adoma will trade fairly, host generously, but we will not sell the roof that kept us dry. Kofi took one step forward. Not to threaten, to witness. The foreign prince looked away first. The delegation left early, and Adoma slept like a field after rain. Weeks braided themselves into scar and strength. Laws were read in markets. Judges practiced mercy like muscle. Children invented a game called roof. No one won until everyone fit. Adawa labored outside the gate. Stones piled. Blisters teaching honesty. Sawa passed with water. No words. Some bridges are built only by time. One evening the king called the people to the Baobab. Torches lined the yard. The tree lifted the night with patient arms. Tano touched bark. Children of Adoma, listen to where the story turned. A princess loved across law. A slave bore a mark forgotten. A queen burned fierce fire inside silk. A king bent without breaking. A servant's eyes saw what soldiers missed. And a kingdom remembered. Laws are tools, not gods. Voices rose. Envy is a room too small to breathe. Courage needs helpers. Mercy is not weakness. Love is older than the crown. The crowd murmured yes. Water agreeing with river. Amira stepped forward. I thought my life was written by others. Now I know the ancestors gave us drums, so we could keep our own time. Kofi lifted his scar. This is not a claim. It is a reminder of what we owe each other. The king laid his staff at the Baobab's roots. The throne sits in this shadow, not the other way around. Queen Efiwa raised a bowl of river water. Drink, she said, if you thirst for a future where law protects life, and love instructs law. And they drank. Handfuls. Sips. Trust. Later, on the ramparts, Amira and Kofi stood together. Wind braided their clothes into one. Do you fear the story will grow quiet? Kofi asked. Amira smiled like dawn before sun. Stories rest, so we can hear the next beginning. Below them, lanterns bloomed. Laughter cooked in courtyards. The Baobab stood, arms wide, never forgetting. Now listen. This tale was not told to keep you sitting warm. It was told to send you home with fire. Remember, law without mercy is a cage. Mercy without wisdom is a door for wolves. Envy shrinks the heart to poison. Courage is a road needing companions. Truth does not fear dawn. And love, older than thrones, deeper than chains, is the roof that holds when storms arrive. If this story found a home in your chest, subscribe to the Story Baobab. Share it, so another traveler may find shade. Leave a word beneath the tree, so we know where you are on the journey. Until the next fire is kindled, until the next river answers. Walk gently, speak honestly, and remember, the Baobab never forgets.